I'm a very eclectic person when it comes to music. Like friend of mine once told me, she goes from Disney to death metal, and I'm like, you know what? That's perfect for me. I'm gonna go ahead and steal that, and saying that I have an eclectic point of view or an eclectic music collection. Disney to death metal, what it is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Joining me in another episode of our music podcast month is Freddie Fisher, who is frustrated with technology a little bit. But Freddie, welcome to the show.
How you doing today?
I am great. You are off to a clean start, or I guess as you were saying, right?
No pun intended on that
Exactly.
one at the moment with my freaking washing machine, my brand new washing machine. We had that thing less than a month now.
Yeah.
Brand new washing machine decided to stop working, man. Sucks. So I'm sitting here at a local laundromat. Well, not at the, I'm outside. I'm in my car right now. Local laundromat doing this. And
yes, I feel your pain. Well, Freddie, tell us a little about yourself. Give us your elevator pitch.
I am a father of three. I am a podcaster. I am an atheist wedding officiant, which is a lot of fun. I have a tendency. I don't do it professionally. I do it for fun, which means that I get to pick and choose the ones that I want to do.
Nice.
And the more off the wall ones I get to do are the better ones in my book. The more off the wall, the less I charge.
Okay. Yes.
So it's like I'm looking for a little bit of like creativity. Yeah, it's just I'm a fan of music, fan of movies, pop culture in general.
Yeah. So you are the host of Bracket Bastards podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about that, and then we're going to go into your origin story.
Bracket Bastards, it's a podcast where we take a bracket of 64, 32, or like 128 or more, however that goes, and narrow everything down to a winner. But with most brackets, it has to do something with sports.
Okay.
Like the entire March Madness thing. That's not what this is. The next episode we're recording next week. We just got done with one of my co-hosts' birthday, so we had one all to do with him. But the next one we're doing is 2000s music.
Okay.
Where we each got to pick like 10 songs or 11 songs or something like that out of the 6 people that were doing it at the time out of 2000s, and we're going to go down matchup to matchup and go down to a single one. There's only 32 in each episode, because if not, the episodes will last like 5 hours long. And
sure.
But
who does the homework of seeding and putting in the different, because that I think it would be fairly easy to come up with 32 or 64 items, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. But then the seeding is what I think would be interesting.
That would be my job. If it's a special bracket that somebody else wants to do, one of the other co-hosts wants to host, they'll go ahead and do that. Okay. A majority of the time, it's random, because I do have a full-time job that does not include this. It's like I work factory work, so I'm super tired by the time I get home.
Yeah.
But majority of the time it's random. We just got done doing a summer blockbusters one.
Okay.
And that was seeded via ticket sales.
Okay.
So I think that the number one seed was Star Wars 1977.
Sure.
Which was the first Star Wars movie. And it had the highest one, and like the lowest one was like Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay.
So it was just one of the, but that's how it was seated. I used to do it. I used to do a whole bunch of math to it and everything else. I'm like, you know what? This takes one heck of a lot of time to do it.
Yes.
And I don't have that kind of luxury of doing it. So now it's just more for fun. The podcast, I describe it as not minivan friendly.
Okay.
Unless you have super cool kids.
Okay.
So, because there's some off-color comments. We try to have a wide range of voices on there, of everything. Yeah, it's just a wide range without bringing any kind of major topic into it. One of my favorite ones is it was one of our early ones too. So the quality isn't that great, but it was still one of my favorite ones. Is we have a guy on there who absolutely cannot stand Will Smith.
Okay.
But he had to
even before the Oscar thing.
Yeah,
yes.
What's really funny is that he likes Will Smith a little bit more now since the Oscar one, because he pretty much Will Smith was standing up for his wife. So as a guy, I can commend that, but still, but he doesn't like Will Smith. So one of our other people got to choose the next bracket, and he decided to do a complete Will Smith bracket where the next time the host signed on, he had to choose between 32 Will Smith movies, and he always chooses against Will Smith no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So he had to do that 31 times in a row.
Oh, that's fun.
It was fun. He finally forgave us for it last episode. So
Freddie, one of the other podcasts I do is How Many. This came from Junior is a friend of mine, and we have a group of buddies that we used to all work together. We now don't work together, but we've remained friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so Junior's shtick was, if you mention Duran Duran, he'd say, "Oh, they've got 8." What? Yeah, they have 8 good songs. What do you mean? Then it would lead to a discussion, and we got to thinking, this might make an interesting podcast. So what we do is we pick a pop culture topic, and whoever's hosting it has to do the research. And so, for example, we did one a couple weeks ago where someone went through all the Super Bowl halftime shows. And then we went through, and then what we do is, okay, there's been 48 halftime shows. How many of those would you rate as actually good or great? And then the 5 or 6 of us all pick, and we go through it. So we've done everything from we'll do like Queen. We'll okay, here are 40 of, people have ranked, these are the 40 top Queen songs. How many of them would you actually say are good? And so it's fun because you have the whole, what you think is a good song, but will the other people agree with it? And it gives you a chance just to basically banter, and then whoever got closest wins. And so it makes for a lot of fun. So it sounds like yours is something similar, and that I love that concept of putting it in a bracket and doing that. And I agree with you. I would say, okay, like if you guys invited me, hey Jesse, join us and let's do a Springsteen bracket. I'm like, okay, good. I'll pick 32 Springsteen songs. We'll randomly throw it in the bracket, and then we'll discuss. So that's great. Why did you guys decide to do this? What was the origin of the ideas of doing this kind of podcast?
It was my idea from the start. I got bored during the entire COVID situation, and for all of your wrestling fans out there, there is a group called the New Day. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E in that one, and they have a podcast called The New Day.
Okay.
And they did a podcast. They did a bracket one day of like the best TV shows, and the one that won that one, spoiler alert, if you're gonna check this out, is Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
I can't stand Dragon Ball Z. I never have. I'm not a huge anime fan, just to even start with.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, it's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and take the same bracket, redo it. And I started talking to my friends at work. I was working at Walmart at the time. We were doing it on lunch, and we had like an hour-long lunch, and we would get through 4 or 5 matchups during that hour.
Yeah.
And the banter on that was just it was fantastic.
Right.
So I did that, and I started going to local bar in town with the brackets that I had, and started talking to people and kind of getting a gist on how I wanted to format the show, and did it via Facebook as well. There's a page called Bracketology that I run that you can't vote on the show because it's just us, unless you're a guest. We have guests on there all the time.
Yeah.
But on the page, we have 2 brackets going all the time. We have currently at this time we have a 2000s part 1, which is 2000 from 2004 movies, and there's 128 of them in that one, and we're down to like the top 8 right now. And the other one is Robin Williams movies, which is going to pull a lot of heartstrings on that one, and we're getting into like the second or third round on that one currently. You can vote. There's 2 matchups a day. You can vote just like us. I get 1 vote. Just because I'm running the page doesn't mean I get like 10 votes.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And I can screw it up. I don't care enough about the matchups to lower myself to do that.
Okay,
it's
sure.
Whoever wins things. So, and I personally believe like majority should rule on things.
Okay.
So
I love that. We have one little caveat. We'll have a host exemption. We'll like everyone will like we kind of, because we're such good friends, we'll say, okay, do you want to use an exemption? Like, if I honestly believe even if everyone else is saying, no, this movie of Ron Howard's is crap. Like, no, I love this movie. All right, you want to use an exception? Yes. And then we'll like, okay, well then, it makes it because Justin, now that's your one exception for this time. So we have a lot of fun. And, it sounds like this is just a good way to have conversation, right? Just to spend time with your friends, and hopefully the listeners find it entertaining. So yeah, absolutely.
I am yet to have a bad review from any guest.
Yeah.
Or person who have listened to the show. The only bad review I've gotten so far is something like, you can tell that you're just starting out.
Yeah.
Which is good because we're not sponsored.
Yeah.
Like at all. We don't the only sponsor we have is actually, I believe, Anchor at this point, which is the
platform
company.
we use. Yeah.
It's the platform we use. So they don't really care. But so we don't have to answer to any kind of sponsorships. We don't have to limit our speech. I do on occasion because I don't want to offend people if I don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to be nice. I'm just doing it because it's kind of it's a bad move to do it even to start with.
Yeah.
Speaking of rules though, we do have one rule when it comes to things. We call it the final swing.
Okay.
Where we vote round robin.
All right.
So whoever voted the previous time votes first and the next round, the next matchup. But if you can't decide, like if there's two movies that you absolutely love, can't decide, it's called the final swing, or as some people call it, blowing your load, because you can only do it one time a show, and that's it. And what it does, it gives you the ability to go from first to last.
Ah, okay.
Now, a majority of the time, like it's like 90% of the time this has happened, it's always come down to a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So the people who can't decide end up having to be the tiebreaker between the 2 movies anyway, and it's kind of a catch-22.
Ah, that's fun.
It's a lot of fun when it comes to that, and we give and the entire blowing your load thing. We did a Disney movie bracket.
Yeah.
Sorry, a Disney song bracket, and there was a comment about, like, I really hate to blow my load on a Disney character.
Things that sound dirty that aren't.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's just
exactly. Perfect.
it's one of those things where like a whole bunch of things can be taken out of context. I will never be able to run for president because I guarantee you, a majority of this show will just invalidate me.
Yes,
So that I wouldn't want to anyway.
I
So
get that. Um, do you have the same co-host? Do you normally, or do you guys kind of
we
rotate?
we have 5 people on a panel each time. It does rotate because I mean we all have like legitimate jobs,
Sure.
not podcasting. Now, if I got paid a whole bunch of money to podcast, yeah, I would do this full time,
Oh yeah,
hands down. I would not have a problem with it because
you
I
and me
love doing
both.
it.
Yes.
But I don't have that luxury. So
No.
I have time job. Uh, Harvey's a stay at home dad. Jeremy does like delivery stuff for different big stores. I'm a factory worker, Q's a factory worker, so is Jess.
Yeah.
Jamie is a photographer, so she's busy on weekends and stuff like that. So summer months we kind of get creative on stuff, and we have guests come in every once in a while.
Well, that sounds a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to checking out some episodes. I think this will be great, and we'll talk offline. Maybe sometime I can join you guys, and we'll come up with a fun topic. It doesn't have to be Bruce Springsteen related. So, I do want to talk a little music though. So,
Yeah,
growing up, where did you grow up, and what kind of music did your family listen to?
I grew up in southeast Iowa. My mother and my father are both, and they still are both, country fans. I don't mind country, but I don't like country, if that makes sense. It's one of those things that if it comes on the radio, I'll listen to it if I have to.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of one of those things. But I do every once in a while still listen to country music. There's a lot of songs on my Spotify playlist country based, but it's not. I'm a very eclectic person when it comes to music. Like a friend of mine once told me, she goes from Disney to death metal, and I'm like, you know what? That's perfect for me. I'm gonna go ahead and steal that, and saying that I have an eclectic point of view or eclectic music collection. Disney to death metal, what it is.
I love that. Now, have you watched the Ken Burns documentary on country music?
I have not. I don't. It's not that I don't like documentaries. I just hardly have time to watch them.
Yeah.
But the main thing on my TV at the house right now is Puppy Dog Pals.
Okay.
Because my 3-year-old runs the TV.
I hear that. The reason I bring it up is I don't know if it will make you a country music fan, but the Ken Burns is always good. He has some great documentaries, and this history of country music. One of the cool things is usually when he does a documentary like, about the Roosevelts or the Civil War, or Vietnam, he'll have a lot of historians telling stories.
Mhm.
Well, as they were filming country music, the historians were telling a story, and musicians ended up telling the exact same story, except they would pick up their guitar and actually would play a little bit of the story they're telling. So you end up hearing a lot of people, like Roseanne Cash and Marty Stewart and Merle Haggard, all telling the stories of history. And if you are a music fan, you will, oh, that was pretty cool, to see how everything. That's my recommendation. And I now have an adult son, but I remember back in the day where Barney ruled the VHS tape, right? Like, oh, yay, Baby Bop Afraid, like, okay, and who named a character BJ? Okay, like, what were you guys were you just trying to troll us parents? So yeah, I feel you. As you're going into high school, what kind of, so you've kind of not rebelled against your parents' music, right? You wanted to find your own music. So going
Mhm.
into high school, college age, what kind of music were you listening to, and what did you love to listen to?
A lot of I bounce between comedy and like alternative rock.
Okay.
Uh,
When you say
Linkin Park.
comedy, you mean like
Well,
comedy albums or
not like stand-up
okay.
comedy, but the band Bloodhound Gang,
Okay.
for instance. Uh, I, I'm trying to remember the name of the song. We were just talking about it the other day too, but uh, the entire Bad Touch is what it's called. It's called
Okay.
the entire You and Me, Baby, Ain't Nothing But Mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel
Uh-huh.
type thing. There's that one. There's so many comedy songs from them, but they're not comedians. They're musicians that have comedic songs.
Yeah.
And I believe my purpose in life, with the exception of being a good dad and a good worker and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
is to make people laugh. This world, this country,
That's a good goal.
this people need a little bit more levity
Yes.
in their life, and it's not the world sucks.
Yeah.
I'll tell that flat out. I'm not trying to hide it or anything else, but you can separate what the world is doing out there to what you're doing inside yourself. And I think if people have the ability to separate the two, like there's stuff in life that you will not be able to control at all. You can't do anything about the war in Ukraine right now except for maybe donate money or so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
don't worry about that. Just don't let it bother you in the least. Do what you can and walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once
I
it,
think um, for me, like Bruce Springsteen's latest album was released at the end of 2020 called Letter to You. And after 2020 was such a crap year, having that new Springsteen music kind of made my year. And so I will always have an emotional attachment to that album because of when it came in my life when you need it. I think a lot of times music does find you when you need it. A different song or an album or a piece of pop culture, a TV show. I think one of the reasons people love Ted Lasso is not only is it a brilliant show, but they needed something of that optimistic nature at that
Mhm.
point. Yeah. How about currently? What you said you have an eclectic, you're all over the board, but do you have two or three artists, musicians, bands that are pretty steady in the rotation that you go to?
I've been listening to a lot of Tom McDonald lately.
Okay.
Tom McDonald is a Canadian rapper. He's not in Canada anymore. He's in California, but there's he just made it to the what is it, Urban Dictionary,
Okay.
uh, as a word for like truth bomb,
Okay.
because his music, there's so much stuff wrapped up into his raps. He's a white white rapper.
Okay.
Uh, he's been compared to Hobson and like Eminem and so on and so forth, but
Okay.
I would put him on a much higher scale than that. His
Okay.
song "No Good Bastards" is actually our theme song for
Okay.
just because, and the reason why is because since we're starting out, we can't really pay for rights on like theme songs and stuff like that. So
Sure.
he came out and said publicly one day, it's like, yeah, as long as it's already released, if you want to use it for everything from gaming to podcast to TikTok videos, do it.
Oh, how nice. Very cool.
So yeah, and he doesn't charge for it. I'm still trying to get him on the show,
Hmm.
but he's a very busy guy. He
Yeah.
releases like a new music video a week, and he's a
Mhm.
completely independent artist.
Yeah.
Like he's not signed to any kind of label. So
Okay.
doing that is crazy.
So, are there topics? What's on the agenda? What are you thinking about going forward? What are topics you want to cover that you just haven't yet?
We have stuff scheduled all the way to November now
Oh, nice.
for our, but just for our 50th and 51st episode, we're going to be doing a bastards bracket, because it's bracket bastards. So we're celebrating the bastards in the world. Hans from Frozen, who's just a complete and utter asshole in the movie.
Yeah,
great guy until the end. And if I'm sorry if I swear.
That's okay. You're good.
But he's a jerk at the very, very end of the movie, and he's such a nice guy throughout it. And it's like the line, it's like, too bad nobody will love you.
Yeah.
And the entire crowd goes, "Oh, you dick."
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Jenny from Forrest Gump. That one, I know. Like, you completely disregard this guy until the very end, where he gets. I don't know if it's Forrest's kid or not, but because I don't think they ever actually did anything. But but she gets sick. She's dying. She passes off this kid to a guy who's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Who still has feelings for her, even though she's treated him like crap for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and there's other people in that like that too.
So I didn't think that was where you were going to go. I think that'll be a fun episode. What we did for our 100th episode was how many episodes have we had? And so we actually talk about meta, right? We actually had a couple of guests, people that are regular listeners, and we went through and we're like, nah, that was a shit episode. No, that was a pretty good episode. I think if we'd recommend that one. And so that's what I thought you guys were going to do, was actually what was our best episode we've ever done. That I like that, bastards. That's going to be good. Good. Yeah.
Harvey is a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
So we're doing around the World Series. We have a baseball movies one going on.
Good.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We have space movies up on there. Ryan Reynolds. We have a special episode for Father's Day, because dads are not portrayed very well in movies.
Right.
They're just, it's more of a mom type thing when it comes to family.
Absolutely.
So we have a selection of 32 movies that are either dad or uncle, pretty much father figure based.
Okay, good.
We did the same thing for Mother's Day, where we did a selection of 32 badass women, because women are not portrayed as badasses very often.
Yeah,
sadly.
Exactly.
So we did that. We try to keep it fun. Just
that sounds a lot of fun. That sounds great. Any final thoughts before we get to the Mary question?
I don't know. Like it's one of, as far as our show goes, the only thing I could say is keep an open mind. If you're easily offended, I'm not going to apologize.
No.
If you're easily offended, I'm not going to apologize, because that's who you are. If you're easily offended, this show is not for you.
Yeah.
It's just not. I try to edit out the highly offensive stuff, which does get said. One of these days, I may go through, like if I get sick or something, or God forbid hit by a car and I'm bedbound for a while, I may go through previous hard copies of the episode and just dig out the this is why we call ourselves bastards. Yeah. And just lay it out there for, this is the stuff that you miss. This is the stuff that I edit out for purposes, because it's like I hear it and I go, no, just no.
No, can't do that. No, I get that. That too much. Yeah.
Too much.
I love that. That is awesome. Very cool. All right. So I end every episode with, if you are checking this episode out because you're a fan of Bracket Bastards, thank you for spending time with me. Freddie has made you guys proud. Been a great guest. I end every episode with the Mary question. So, give you a little background. Jay Armstrong was a guest on the podcast, and he was a honors English teacher, and he's recently retired, but for his honors English class, they would spend 2 days breaking across Bruce Springsteen's song Thunder Road. They would look at the lyrics, they would talk about the themes, and at the end of the 2 days, they would ask the question, does Mary get in the car? So, Freddie, that is your question. Does Mary get in the car at the end of Thunder Road?
I've never heard this song before.
Okay.
But before getting the challenge from you, I've never heard this song before. I listened to it about 12 times and I still have no freaking clue what's going on.
Okay.
I downloaded the lyrics. Like I printed off the lyrics to keep it on me when I went to work when I had a break. I was like 2 or 3 days looking at this. I probably spent more time looking at this piece of paper than actually working.
Okay. If your boss is listening, that was just a joke, right?
Yeah. Sure. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't understand, like, even on a poetry base, I don't understand what the heck's going on in that song. And I do like some of his music. I wouldn't call me a Springsteen fan.
Okay,
I wouldn't.
sure.
But I'm like, I don't understand it. But from what I do understand, if I would put myself into her shoes, I'm a very hedonistic person at heart.
Okay.
I believe life should be lived.
Okay.
You should weigh the consequences when it comes to things, especially when you have kids and family and such. So you can't just go off and jump in somebody's car and drive.
Yeah.
But if I was her, didn't have any issues with kids or anything tying me down,
Right.
Why not? If it fails, it fails.
Got it.
But you have a good story. You have something that you've hopefully learned from. But that's if it fails. If it doesn't fail and everything turns out great, then yeah, it turns out great. But what really have you wasted in not going?
I love it. That's a great answer. All right, Freddie, if someone wants to reach you and hear the show, what's the best way?
We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, some of the other ones that I just can't seem to mention right now. The best way to reach us is probably on Twitter at BracketPod.
Okay.
Especially if you listen to the show, like the show, or even don't like the show, because I do respond to every message I can, or every tweet that I can. You may not like the response. Again, I have told people the entire Bracket Bastards is not just a moniker. It is an earned moniker.
Absolutely. Very nice.
So, but I try to be nice. So.
Well, that is perfect. I love that. I've loved talking to you. I'm going to check out the podcast. I think this sounds a lot of fun. Thank you for your time and good luck with the washing machine and catching up. Listeners, you go check out their podcast. Let them know what you think. Tell them you heard about it on Set Listing Bruce. Go get boosted. Go get vaccinated, and let's all be kind to each other, because that's how we're going to get through this. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, listeners. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at setlistingbruce, and my personal Twitter is at jessejacksondfw. We have a website, www.setlistingbruce.com. From there, you can find links to other Springsteen podcasts, as well as other music-themed podcasts. We have a page devoted to our own SLB All-Star Band. These are guests who have been on the podcast more than 3 times. There is a link to our store where you can purchase Set Listing Bruce shirts, as well as a Mary Question t-shirt. There is a link to our Patreon page where you can sign up to help support the podcast financially. We have different levels and different rewards based on your support. If you don't have any extra cash, and right now who does, you can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference.
You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.